My name is Charles Edward Sullivan. I'm 52 years old and work as a software engineer at a tech company in downtown Chicago. I never imagined that my life would change completely because of an abandoned dog. I found on a rainy June morning near Lincoln Park. It was a border collie puppy, soaked and shivering from the cold with those intelligent eyes that seemed to beg me for an opportunity. I decided to call him Rex. At that time, I was living alone in an apartment in the Gold Coast neighborhood. My two children, Marina, 28, and Lucas, 25, had moved away, she to Los Angeles to work for a multinational company, and he to Boston, where he was pursuing a doctorate in engineering. Solitude had become my constant companion, especially after my wife Clara passed away 3 years ago, a victim of cancer. Rex arrived like a ray of light in my monotonous routine. From the first days, I realized he wasn't an ordinary dog. While other puppies take weeks to learn basic commands, Rex learned sit down and stay in just 2 days. His intelligence was impressive. He observed everything around me with an almost human attention, as if he were studying my habits and routines. During the first months, our routine was quickly established. We would wake up at 6 in the morning, take a walk along Lakeshore Drive before traffic became chaotic, and then I would head to the office while he stayed home. When I returned in the late afternoon, Rex always greeted me with the same contagious energy, as if he hadn't seen me in years. It was clear that he had developed a deep attachment to me, but he also demonstrated constant concern for my well-being. If you're enjoying this incredible story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any chapter. What impressed me most was his capacity for perception. Rex could anticipate my movements. When I grabbed the car keys, he would already run to the door. When I opened the laptop to work, he would lie down beside me in the study. And when I got stressed about tight deadlines, he would come keep me company, placing his head on my lap with an understanding look. It was as if he could read my feelings. One day in September of that year, something extraordinary happened. I was working from home developing an assistive communication app for people with disabilities when Rex approached my tablet that was on the table. He began pressing the screen with his paw, and to my surprise, he managed to open different applications. Initially, I thought it was coincidence, but he repeated the behavior several times, always with the same precision. Intrigued by Rex's behavior, I decided to conduct a test. I downloaded a symbol communication app and created some simple virtual buttons: water, food, walk, and play. To my disbelief, in less than a week, Rex had learned to associate each symbol with its corresponding need. When he wanted to go for a walk, he pressed the correct button. When he was hungry, he indicated the food symbol. The discovery of this ability completely changed my perspective on Rex. I realized that I had at home not just a faithful companion, but an animal with exceptional cognitive capabilities. As an engineer, my mind was already working on more complex communication possibilities. What if I developed a more sophisticated system? What if Rex could really communicate in a more elaborate way? Marina and Lucas were fascinated when I told them about Rex's abilities during our weekly video calls. Marina, always practical, suggested that I document everything, while Lucas, with his scientific mind, became curious about the neurological aspects of canine learning. Both asked me to show Rex talking through the tablet during our next calls, and that's when a brilliant idea emerged in my mind. What if Rex could not only communicate with me, but also with my children? What if he could be a bridge between us, especially considering they lived so far away? The seed of that possibility was planted at that moment, and I barely knew that it would grow in a way that would transform our lives unexpectedly and profoundly. In the following months, I dove headfirst into developing a personalized communication system for Rex, using my knowledge in programming and user interface. I created a specific application with larger buttons, vibrant colors, and distinct sounds for each command. The tablet now had about 20 different buttons, each representing words or concepts that Rex could use to express himself. The training process was fascinating. Every day after work, I dedicated at least 2 hours to teaching Rex new words. I started with basic concepts like yes, no, more, help, but soon realized he was capable of learning more complex words. Within a few months, Rex knew emergency, phone, children, Marina, Lucas, problem, and doctor. The training routine always happened in the living room, with natural afternoon light coming through the windows that overlooked Lincoln Park. Rex would position himself concentrated in front of the tablet, his ears always erect, demonstrating the characteristic focus of the Border Collie breed. When he got the button combination right, I would reward him with treats and lots of affection, positively reinforcing each advance. The big leap happened when Rex learned to make word combinations. One day, he pressed sequentially Charles plus problem plus help when I had a severe headache. I was impressed with his ability to form simple sentences to express concern. It was evident that he wasn't just memorizing commands, but really understood the meaning of words and knew how to apply them contextually. Don't miss the next chapters of this exciting story. Subscribe to the channel right now. During this period, I also implemented video call functionality. I configured the tablet so Rex could initiate video calls with Marina and Lucas by pressing their respective buttons. Initially, it was more of a curiosity. My children were delighted to see Rex calling them. But we soon realized these interactions were creating a special bond between them, even at a distance. Marina, who had always been passionate about Rex since he was a puppy, established a routine of talking with him 3 times a week. She created her own signals and commands that Rex learned to recognize through the screen. Lucas, more reserved, initially treated the calls as an interesting scientific experiment, but gradually developed a genuine emotional connection with the dog. The system evolved to also include automatic alerts. I programmed the application to send notifications to my children whenever Rex pressed certain word combinations related to emergencies. Charles plus problem plus emergency would immediately trigger messages to Marina and Lucas, including my GPS location and the possibility for Rex to automatically initiate a video call. In addition to basic functionalities, I added health monitoring features. As a middle-aged person living alone, I had become more conscious of risks. The tablet was configured to detect when I didn't interact with Rex for abnormally long periods. And in those cases, Rex was instructed to press a specific sequence that alerted my children. Rex's intelligence continued to surprise me daily. He learned to distinguish between different types of situations, when I was simply sleeping, versus when something was really wrong. He also developed the ability to evaluate my emotional state and choose appropriate words on the tablet. When I was sad, he pressed Charles plus affection. When I seemed sick, he used Charles plus doctor. The building neighbors began to notice Rex's transformation. Mrs. Rodriguez, who lived in the apartment next door, commented on how he had become more attentive and responsive. The building doorman, Joe, said Rex seemed more human in the way he observed and reacted to situations around us. These comments made me realize that training wasn't just teaching Rex to use technology, but was developing his emotional intelligence. The winter of that year was particularly harsh in Chicago, with low temperatures and constant snow. During those colder weeks, Rex and I spent more time at home perfecting our communication. It was during this period that he learned more sophisticated commands like weather, cold, medicine, and rest. His capacity to learn seemed to have no limits. An event that profoundly marked our bond happened one night in August. I had felt unwell during the early morning, a hypertension crisis that left me dizzy and disoriented. Rex immediately perceived something was wrong, ran to the tablet and pressed Charles plus problem plus emergency. The automatic notification was sent to Marina and Lucas, who immediately called me and, perceiving the gravity of the situation, called an ambulance. This experience showed us the true potential of the system we had developed. It was a typical Tuesday morning in November when my life changed drastically. I woke up feeling fine, had my usual breakfast, toast with butter and coffee, a ritual I had maintained since Clara was alive. Rex was especially attentive that morning, following me more closely than normal, which should have served as an alert, considering his ability to perceive alterations in my health state. I left for my morning walk along Lakeshore Drive, a routine I had maintained religiously for 3 years. The sky was overcast, typical of Chicago's winter season, and there was intense movement of people heading to work. Rex was more agitated than normal during the walk, stopping frequently to look at me with that intense expression I had learned to associate with his concern. We returned home around 7:30. While I showered, Rex stayed outside the bathroom. Unusual behavior for him, who normally would go rest in the living room. When I came out, he followed me to the kitchen and stayed watching me with almost hypnotic attention. Retrospectively, I realized he was already detecting signs that I couldn't perceive. Around 9 o'clock, when I was preparing to leave for the office, I began to feel a strange pain in my chest, accompanied by shortness of breath. Initially, I attributed it to stress from the project I was developing, but the sensation intensified rapidly. I sat in the living room armchair trying to control my breathing when I noticed Rex running toward the tablet. With impressive precision, he pressed the sequence Charles plus problem plus emergency. The system automatically sent alerts to Marina and Lucas, including my location and initiating an automatic video call. The chest pain was becoming unbearable, and I could barely stay conscious when I heard Marina's voice through the tablet. Dad, what's happening? If this story is touching your heart, subscribe to the channel to follow every exciting chapter. Rex continued operating the tablet with a determination he had never demonstrated before. He pressed help plus doctor several times, then positioned the tablet so Marina could see me through the video call. Even in my debilitated state, I managed to perceive his exceptional intelligence in adjusting the screen angle so my face would be visible. Marina, from Los Angeles, immediately understood the gravity of the situation. She managed to communicate with me through the tablet while simultaneously calling Chicago's emergency services from her cell phone. "Dad, can you hear me? Help is coming," she repeated while Rex maintained the video call active. Barking in a specific way, 3 short barks followed by 1 long one, a pattern he had developed to indicate medical emergencies. Lucas from Boston also joined the video call a few minutes later. The technology we had developed as a curiosity was now saving my life. Through the screen, my children could monitor me and reassure me while we waited for the paramedics' arrival. Rex remained by my side, alternating between operating the tablet and placing his head on my lap, offering the physical comfort he knew was important. The ambulance arrived in approximately 15 minutes, a time that seemed eternal. Throughout the wait, Rex maintained active communication with my children, periodically pressing buttons that indicated my state, Charles plus breathing plus difficult, when I was gasping a lot, or Charles plus better when I managed to calm down a bit. His ability to evaluate and communicate my health state in real time was fundamental for the paramedics to arrive prepared for the specific situation. When the paramedics entered the apartment, Rex guided them to where I was and then returned to the tablet to press Dr. Plus here plus help, the most experienced professional. Dr. Martinez commented later that he had never seen an animal so organized and communicative during an emergency. Rex provided valuable information through the tablet about the duration of symptoms and my behavior in previous hours. During transport to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Marina managed to speak with the paramedics through the tablet that Rex operated in the apartment. She provided information about my medical history, medications I was taking, and details about my recent symptoms. Lucas, as a future doctor, managed to ask relevant technical questions that helped professionals make more informed decisions about my treatment. The diagnosis was myocardial infarction, confirmed after hospital examination. The doctors explained that the speed with which I received care was crucial to minimize damage to the heart muscle. Dr. Patricia, the cardiologist responsible for my case, was impressed when she learned Rex's story and how he had facilitated communication during the emergency. While I was in the ICU, Rex remained in the apartment, but Marina and Lucas could monitor him through cameras they had installed in the system. He demonstrated behaviors indicating stress. He walked around the house, constantly checked my usual place in the armchair, and used the tablet to press Charles plus return plus win. His genuine concern was evident even at a distance. Recovery would be long, but doctors were optimistic. During my week-long hospitalization, Rex maintained a daily communication routine with Marina and Lucas, who took turns talking with him through the tablet. These interactions not only kept Rex calmer, but also reassured my children, who could monitor the dog's well-being and indirectly prepare to care for both of us when I returned home. Returning home after a week of hospitalization was an emotionally intense moment. Rex was waiting for me at the apartment door with contained energy different from his usual effusiveness. It was as if he intuitively understood that I was fragile and needed special care. In the first moments, he approached delicately, sniffing me carefully before gently placing his head on my knee, a gesture I interpreted as his way of saying welcome back. The doctors had given me strict instructions about rest, medications, and constant monitoring of vital signs. Marina had managed to get 2 weeks off work in Los Angeles to come help me in Chicago, while Lucas organized his academic schedule to make more frequent visits. But even with my children's support, Rex became my most dedicated and constant caregiver. During the first weeks at home, Rex developed an impressive care routine. He learned my medication schedules and always alerted me through the tablet by pressing Charles plus medicine plus time, approximately 10 minutes before the correct time. When I forgot or was distracted, he insisted, using combinations like important plus health plus now. Marina was fascinated watching how Rex had become a true canine nurse. He constantly monitored my signs of fatigue, and when he perceived I was overexerting myself, would come to me and press rest plus necessary on the tablet. His ability to evaluate my physical state was surprisingly accurate. Many times he detected my exhaustion before I even realized it myself. Continue following this touching story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The recovery period also brought unexpected challenges. By medical recommendation, I could no longer live alone, at least not immediately. Marina suggested I temporarily move to Los Angeles, but the idea distressed me. Lucas proposed I go to Boston, where he could accompany me more closely, but Rex complicated any moving plan. He had become so integrated into my care routine that separating him from me seemed unthinkable. It was during a family video call that a creative solution emerged. Lucas suggested expanding Rex's communication system functionalities to include more sophisticated medical monitoring. If Rex could learn to identify and communicate emergency signals with even more precision, I could continue living in Chicago with a robust safety network. In the following months, we worked together to develop new features. We integrated movement sensors and devices that monitored my heart rate and blood pressure into the system. Rex learned to interpret alerts from these devices and communicate specific information through the tablet. He could distinguish between different types of medical alerts and choose appropriate word combinations. Training intensified. Rex learned words like frequency, pressure, high, low, normal, and irregular. He developed the ability to evaluate not only my behavior, but also to interpret medical device data and communicate this information in an organized way to Marina and Lucas. His intelligence continued to surprise me daily. During this period, our relationship deepened extraordinarily. Rex wasn't just my companion, but had become my partner in recovery and adaptation to the new post-heart attack reality. He actively participated in my cardiac physiotherapy sessions, encouraging me through the tablet when I showed reluctance to do prescribed exercises. A particularly moving moment happened during a rainy March afternoon. I was feeling depressed, reflecting on the limitations the heart attack had imposed on my life. Rex perceived my emotional state and came to the tablet. Instead of using words related to physical health, he pressed a combination he had never used before. Charles plus important, plus family, plus love. It was his way of reminding me that, despite difficulties, I had much to live for. Marina and Lucas's response to this episode was immediate and exciting. They organized a special video call where the whole family, including Rex, spent the afternoon talking and sharing memories. Rex actively participated, pressing buttons that expressed joy and affection. This moment marked a turning point in my emotional recovery, and I realized how Rex had become the link that kept our family united, even at a distance. Building neighbors began commenting on the remarkable transformation in Rex's behavior. Mrs. Rodriguez observed that he seemed to have specific responsibilities and acted with almost human seriousness. Joe, the doorman, said Rex had become a nurse dog and that he had never seen anything like it. These comments made me realize how exceptional our situation had become. As my physical recovery progressed, Rex also seemed more relaxed and confident. He maintained his constant vigilance, but had recovered part of his natural joy. During our walks through Lincoln Park, now shorter and less intense, he showed more enthusiasm, although he never completely lost his attention to my physical conditions. 6 months after the heart attack, our routine had found a new balance. Rex had consolidated as an indispensable family member, not only as my caregiver, but as the communication link that kept Marina, Lucas, and me connected in a more intimate way than we had ever experienced. The tablet had become the nerve center of our house, and Rex operated it with the skill of an experienced professional. During this period, I developed a deeper understanding of how Border Collie's exceptional intelligence could be channeled for purposes that transcended traditional training. Rex didn't just follow commands or execute tasks. He had developed a capacity for initiative and decision-making that constantly surprised me. He anticipated needs, identified potential problems, and took preventive actions. A striking example of this evolution occurred one April morning. Marina was going through a difficult period at work. A company reorganization had created a stressful and uncertain environment. During one of our regular video calls, Rex perceived her anguish through the screen. After the call, he pressed a sequence on the tablet. Marina, plus sad, plus help, plus dad. It was his way of alerting me that my daughter needed additional emotional support. This perception led to a long and meaningful conversation between Marina and me that same day. Rex had identified something that I, absorbed in my own recovery, hadn't completely perceived. His ability to read emotions through video calls and communicate these observations demonstrated a level of emotional intelligence I had never imagined possible in an animal. This incredible story is reaching its end. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the exciting conclusion. With Lucas, the dynamic was different but equally impressive. My son, always more emotionally reserved, had developed unique communication with Rex. They had created a kind of code through the tablet. Lucas would ask questions about my health using specific gestures on the screen, and Rex would respond with button combinations that provided detailed information about my physical and emotional state. During a Lucas's visit in May, we witnessed a moment that clearly defined the role Rex had assumed in our lives. We were having dinner on the apartment balcony, enjoying Chicago's mild spring weather, when I began to feel slight chest pain. It wasn't anything serious, just a consequence of the effort of preparing dinner, but Rex immediately perceived my discomfort. Instead of triggering an emergency alert, Rex did something more subtle and intelligent. He went to the tablet and pressed Lucas plus attention, plus dad, plus care. Lucas immediately understood the signal, observed me more attentively, and suggested I rest. Rex had learned to distinguish between real emergency situations and moments that required only additional attention. This response modulation capacity demonstrated that Rex didn't just follow programmed protocols, but had developed sophisticated judgment about different levels of medical concern. He knew when to activate complete alarms and when to simply call attention to situations requiring closer monitoring. The family communication routine had become rich and complex. Every morning, Rex would initiate a video call with Marina for his morning report, a sequence of buttons that informed about my night's sleep, breakfast appetite, and general state. In the afternoons, he communicated with Lucas, providing updates on physical activities, medications, and any relevant events of the day. Weekends became special for our expanded family. Rex learned to coordinate group video calls, bringing Marina, Lucas, and me together in collective conversation. He actively participated, pressing buttons that expressed joy, sharing opinions on family matters, and even demonstrating preferences about activities we plan to do together. Marina began referring to Rex as our younger brother, a description that initially seemed exaggerated to me, but that I gradually began to understand. Rex had assumed family responsibilities, actively participated in decisions, and contributed to all our emotional well-being. His presence had transformed our family dynamic in a way that transcended the traditional relationship between humans and animals. During this period, I received an interesting proposal. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, a researcher from Northwestern University who studied animal cognition, had learned of our story through Dr. Martinez, the paramedic who attended me during the heart attack. She would like to document and study Rex's abilities, potentially contributing to research on canine intelligence and assistive communication. The proposal left me reflective. On one hand, I recognized the scientific value of what we had developed with Rex. On the other, our situation had become so personal and intimate that the idea of exposing it to academic scrutiny caused me hesitation. Rex, as always, seemed to perceive my indecision. One afternoon, he pressed an interesting combination on the tablet: Rex plus help plus other plus families. This message made me realize that Rex perhaps understood the broader potential of his abilities. He wasn't just caring for our family. Potentially, his experience could benefit other people in similar situations. The idea that Rex could help other families stay connected during medical crises or geographical distance was emotionally powerful. 1 year after the heart attack, my life had stabilized in a new normalcy I never imagined possible. Rex was no longer just my companion. He had become the silent architect of a revolution in how our family related. The technology we developed together transcended its original limitations and transformed into a tool for deep and authentic human connection. The decision to collaborate with Dr. Amanda Rodriguez from Northwestern University ended up being transformative, not only for scientific research, but for our own understanding of what Rex represented. For 6 months, researchers studied our interactions, documented communication protocols, and analyzed the cognitive sophistication demonstrated by Rex. The results were published in an international animal cognition journal, placing our story on the world scientific stage. Marina decided to make a radical change in her career. Inspired by the experience with Rex, she left her job at the multinational and returned to Chicago to study animal-assisted therapy. Rex showed me that there's a completely new way to connect technology, animals, and human care, she explained during an interview for a documentary being produced about our story. Lucas was also profoundly impacted. His doctoral thesis changed focus to include communication interfaces between humans and animals. He developed an improved version of our original system, incorporating artificial intelligence to make communication even more fluid. Rex taught us that intelligence isn't exclusively human, and that we can create much more sophisticated communication bridges than we imagined, he said. The impact of our story spread far beyond our family. We received hundreds of messages from people around the world who were inspired by our experience. Families with elderly members, people with disabilities, and even other people living alone began implementing adapted versions of our animal communication system. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and share it with others who might benefit from this inspiration. Rex continued evolving his abilities in surprising ways. He learned to operate not only the original tablet, but also other connected devices in the house. He could adjust the air conditioning when he perceived I was hot, turn on lights when he detected I was having trouble seeing, and even make online shopping orders by pressing specific sequences on the tablet when he perceived we were running out of medications or food. One special September morning, exactly 2 years after finding Rex soaked in Lincoln Park, something extraordinary happened. I was having breakfast when Rex approached the tablet with a different expression. There was a determination in his eyes I had never seen. He pressed a long and complex sequence: Charles plus thank you plus family plus love plus always plus together. It was impossible not to be moved by that message. Rex had found a way to express gratitude, love, and commitment in a language that transcended barriers between species. At that moment, I completely understood that our relationship had become something unique and precious, a partnership based on genuine communication, mutual care, and unconditional love. The repercussion of our story led to the creation of Project Rex, a collaborative initiative between universities, technology companies, and health organizations to develop assistive communication systems between humans and animals. Marina became the project coordinator in Chicago, while Lucas led the technological development team. Rex naturally was the principal consultant and project ambassador. During Project Rex public events, Rex demonstrated his abilities with the patience of an experienced teacher. He interacted with other dogs being trained, teaching through example how to use communication systems. His ability to mentor other animals added a completely new dimension to our understanding of his intelligence. Afternoons in the apartment continued to be our most intimate moment. Rex and I developed our own private language through the tablet, button combinations that expressed emotional nuances only we two understood. He knew when I was nostalgic thinking about Clara, and responded with love plus always plus heart. When I worried about Marina or Lucas, he reassured me with children plus pride plus happy. The legacy of our friendship extended far beyond technological innovations. Our story inspired changes in emergency medical protocols, influenced housing policies that allowed emotional assistance animals, and contributed to new scientific understanding about animal cognition. But for me, the most significant impact was personal. Rex taught me that loneliness wasn't a permanent condition, but a state that could be transformed through genuine connection. He showed me that family isn't defined only by blood ties, but by care, dedication, and shared love. Our communication through the tablet had become a powerful metaphor for how we can overcome apparently impossible barriers when there's genuine will to connect. Today, when I observe Rex operating the tablet with the same skill as years ago, I feel profound gratitude for the chance that brought us together that rainy morning. He didn't just save my life during the heart attack, he saved my soul from loneliness and showed my family a new way to love. Rex proved that intelligence, compassion, and loyalty know no boundaries between species, and that the most extraordinary bonds can arise in the most unexpected moments. Our story continues every day with Rex maintaining his loving vigilance, connecting our family through his unique presence, and demonstrating that even the most unlikely bonds can transform into deep and transformative connections when we nurture them with patience, love, and mutual understanding.